All right, I just wanted to make a quick follow-up video. The server is still churning along. Not had any major hiccups to it. Doing a ton of learning. Starting to, I wouldn't say learn Linux, but at least start to see some of the commands and stuff as I work on a Ubuntu server edition in a VM with the Apache uh, software built on so that I can theoretically host a website. Again, I'm just learning here. I'm not. This isn't a business or a justification to do this. I'm just learning. That's the key here, is just to learn. And so, in the vein of learning, I still struggling with the CPU cooler. It is just not doing a great job. And I really chalk this up to the manufacturer. It's just not a great cooler. It is okay, but it's amazing that instead of creating a good cooler, they just say we'll put the fastest fan we can find on there and make a crap cooler, And so for me, who's got the server literally right here, right here is the server. I can put my hand on it. So again, I was looking at trying to do some stuff, and I took the cooler off and found that the thermal paste that they have, because they did these little squares of prearranged thermal paste, and I was like, okay, that'd be fine. They're not making contact. So I pulled it off, and the squares are still square. There's no squish out on them. So, or any, suction when you pull the cooler off. That's just, it didn't happen. So, I grabbed one of my thermal paste that I had just laying around. I was trying to have a larger tube of thermal paste, but I couldn't find it. So I grabbed a small thing of the Kingpin cooling thermal solution and put that on there, and that helped a little bit. It's definitely making contact, whereas the other one is questionable. And this thing really tightens down on there, so you would think it's making contact. I don't know if the base is just not flat, CPU's not flat. There's a lot of things that could be going on there, but it's. I will get to the bottom of it. I've ordered a bigger tube of thermal paste, and I know thermal paste is a hot topic in the community, but I'm going to put a good amount of thermal paste on there and let it squish out. Because I want it to make better contact than, just barely enough thermal paste that it kind of sort of makes contact sometimes. No, this is going to make contact. And so doing that, I looked, there is a better cooler out there called the NHU9. And unfortunately, it is 125 millimeters tall, and I've got 114 millimeters to work with. So, yeah, it's not going to happen. As much as I would love it to, and, you'd think maybe doing some case mods and stuff, because I could. I've got the U space, the U rack size space to put pretty much whatever I wanted here. But I want the server to still function. If I just take the top off of it, that's not really helping the airflow and management. because I've got networking cards and HBAs and stuff that still need cooling. So I'm not gonna just knock all of that off. Yeah, it's still got to figure that out for sure. Let's see here. Oh yes, the memory. So right now I'm running standard desktop memory, so 64 gigs of DDR4 3400 or 3600. Again, not anything to really write home about. It's just pretty normal memory. But I have bid on and won a kit of do I still have it open somewhere? Yes, 2666. So lower clock speed, but it's ECC registered memory. And I got it on the cheap, so gonna toss that in there. Well, we will see. It's not on the registered memory support list. Not a lot is. It's mostly geared towards, desktop memory, so we'll see. It's possible that I plug this in and it doesn't work, and we've got to go back to the drawing board. All else fails. Yeah, there's some other options that I've got in there, so we'll see. Yeah, so that's a pretty high level overview. Messing around with a lot of data sets. The server is stupid fast right now because it's in Stripe configuration, and it is intoxicatingly fast. I can move data around so quickly. It's just, again, the word I would use is intoxicating. I can do 8K footage and it not really be an issue. I can scrub through, and this is Apple ProRes RAW. Yeah, Apple ProRes RAW. That is huge. I mean, massive file sizes. 30, 40 gigs a piece. And it's no problem. It just chews right through it, no problem. So, yeah, that part is fantastic. I have to figure out some way, and I've been doing some reading. There's some truenas documentation on different stripe patterns that you can use, and so a 4x3 wide Z1 maybe, or some other cool scenarios where I'll be able to get the correct speed that I'm looking for. Because right now it's really just a stripe, which is terrible. You don't want to stripe your data. I want to make that abundantly clear. Do not stripe your data. Do not do what I'm doing. There is no reason to do what I'm doing, because there's no backup, there's no parity, there's no nothing. If I had any sort of failure at all, this is, it would be on me for sure. And I fully accept that. There's nothing on this array that I can't live without. It's just for testing right now. And I will destroy and rebuild this array several times until I figure out, that balance of getting some parity information, some resiliency, but still have the speed that I'm looking for. Because if I can saturate a 10 gig NIC, then I'm happy. And I want to be able to saturate, and I think that's the key here, is I need to be able to saturate that coming and going. So data that's being ingested, which is where I was having problems before when I just had the RAID, and it wasn't a good configuration anyway, but the, RAID 2, the RAID Z2, and I had fine read speeds, but terrible write speeds. So I've got to find that balance of being able to get good read speeds and write speeds. And I've got enough drives to play with here that I can make that happen some way, balance it out. I'll lose some storage, but I'll be able to create an array that works for me and still has some resiliency. So that's kind of where I'm at on that. Otherwise, everything else is really clicking along. The front panel headers should be coming in tomorrow, the memory theoretically tomorrow, and there was some other little bauble that was coming in tomorrow as well. Oh yeah, the thermal paste. That was it. So those were the three things that were coming in tomorrow, just to kind of wrap this up, put it, get it as good as I can get it. The front panel headers would be great because then I don't have to take it all the way out of the rack every time I want to do something. I can just push the power button on the front, and that would be fantastic. Yeah, and the other thing that I've done, and I'm really rambling here, so I apologize, but the other thing I've done is the mid-pane fans, so the three main fans in there, I've bumped them up in duty cycle just a little bit, so it's a little louder, and I'm willing to accept that because my disk temperatures I want to bring down just a little bit. They're not bad. So we're looking at, 40, 41. Let's see if I can find there's one at 43. So again, no, this is old data. So, that was before I made the adjustments to the fans. So what's our peak temperature now? 42. 42 is the peak temperature now. So yeah, definitely, brought that down from say 44 to 42 as the peak. So not a huge difference, but the average temperature for the array is lower now. Seeing some temperatures in the 38, 37, that range. And again, I can always tweak this a little more, give it some more airflow if I need to. And again, we'll just see. We'll see. Finding that correct balance in between cooling and being able to live with it sitting right next to my head that's going to be a challenge because I'm used to complete silence in here. Despite having the monster rig that, easily pulls 1,000 watts, no problem. Closer to 2,000 watts when you really get down to it, and it makes no noise at all. That's the difference in between having, 480 millimeter radiators in there versus, a tiny little 3U CPU cooler and a bunch of disk in there. So, it's just a different game to play, and I'll figure it out. and we'll kind of go there together. So that's just kind of the update that I wanted to put out there, and we'll plug in and see what we get. All right.